we were 6 laps in the lead, I think.
6 laps in the lead in the 917.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It was fast. It was fast.
I was trying to calculate this. So 6 laps in the lead, and it's what, a 10-mile lap roughly, and what, 3.5 minutes? Is it 10
yeah,
miles?
it's about 8 point something, I think. I'm
Okay,
not sure.
okay.
Yeah,
And so 6 times, so you're nearly 20 minutes in the lead.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but for whatever reason,
Nobody.
they didn't
Yeah.
signal you to back off or.
Exactly, exactly right. And it's something that's always, well, wondered really, well, why we were, we were so far in the lead, why we just back it off a bit.
Yeah.
And, but nobody mentioned it. But, I wasn't really probably completely au fait as to where we were anyway, because I'd lost a lot of interest in the race.
Because you were just, was that because you were so exhausted? What was the deal?
Well,
It was just.
Well, Vic started the race, did two stints. I did the next 2 stints, and after my stint, 2 things had happened to my body, and they had two exhaust pipes out the back, and had 2 under each door. And the noise in the car was so horrendous because the exhaust was right under your bum.
Yeah.
And right in the middle of the car. And so I was deaf as a post. I got a blinding headache after my two stints.
Mm-hmm.
I was already with the power leading my head against the rear bulkhead because my neck had gone. And yet the bloody car lasted 21 hours. Yeah. So you can understand how drained and harrowed I was.
Yeah.
After 21 hours. I mean, I was total relief. It was total relief for me.
So also getting this into perspective as well, there was only 2 drivers to do the 24 hour, because nowadays, isn't it like 3 or 4 drivers for the 24 hours?
I think they stipulate 3,
Mm-hmm.
whether there's a spare driver, because if one of them gets ill during the race, I believe they have to finish with just the 2.
Right.
But I understand it in that the stresses on the body, G-forces are happening the whole time, no matter where you are on track.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst of it really in modern times is that they've now got these 2 chicanes, whereas we used to just, drive looking at the instruments and whatever instruments were, and really relaxed with the arms straight, with the wheel kind of keep the car straight. And so with a good handling car like a 970, that was a relaxing time. It sounds ridiculous to be a relaxing time.
Yeah.
220 miles an hour, but it was because you didn't have to do much.
Yeah.
And the kink was easy flat, so it wasn't a drama until it rained in 97. Then it rained a lot.
Yeah.
And hugely. So, but before the race in 1970, I was asked actually by the factory in February what type of car or specification I wanted on a 917.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you about this. What led to that smaller engine? What? Yeah.
Well, basically, it was all my decisions because I got exactly what I wanted at that time, and because the 5-litre hadn't been sort of bulletproof before then in February. And so I chose the 4.5, the well-known one.
Right.
And also, the 5-litre would produce more torque. And the year before, the gearbox had broken. And so, therefore, I didn't want to put stresses through the gearbox.
Right.
And wanted a short tail. Didn't want to know about long tail anymore. And I said, I want one other thing. And I said, I want Hans Herrmann to drive with me, because he was the steady boy. He's 10 years older than me, and I knew he would do. I wasn't thinking about where Hans Herrmann had, finished second the year before to Jackie Hicks in what was supposedly, I think it may have been certainly one of the closest finish, might have been one of the closest finish ever at that time. because it was only a few seconds. And so that's what I got. And I think they asked me. I think it was Helmut Bott who rang me, and so that, you know, and I think they saw from '69 the pain I was in. I think they saw as disappointment.
Right.
I don't know. I'll never know that. But they specifically asked me what I wanted for the following year, in February the following year. Yeah. So I asked it and I got it. And then before the race, I then see that we're 14th on the grid. And that means to me that 13 other cars are ahead of me and faster than me. And so therefore, I'm deciding that already I've cooked my own goose, because there's no way we're going to get any more speed out of the car.
Yeah, so you'd actually effectively gone for the slower package then, right?
I'd gone for the slow package. It was actually too slow if everybody finished.
Right.
But of course, everybody in front, you know, had problems or driver error or whatever. There were 3 512s accidents at the White House, because I think I read it was Rainer Wiesel got some oil on his screen and he couldn't see where he was going against, I think it may have been daylight, it would have been daylight, I think. And 2 other Ferraris came up charging up behind me. One of them was Derek Bell, and they both, in avoidance, lost control of whatever they were doing. There were 3 Ferrari 512s out in one accident.
Wow.
So that's the sort of thing that happened in that race.
And you said it was quite bad weather at some points as well, then, was it?
Well, it was very bad. You know, it rained a lot. I think a lot of it was at night. I can't remember when it started, when it finished, but it was on for a long time. And I've done races before, and maybe I can't remember if it was in this race, but we got cars with very thin tires were going faster than we were. Because they didn't have to shift so much water.
Yes, they weren't aquaplaning.
Carve through it, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was almost embarrassingly slow, but you know, we kept going. And we were having water on the electrics as well. And at any moment, I had imagined that could be that you go through a massive aquaplane puddle somewhere, and it drowns the engine, and that's the end of your race. So we had that to worry about as well. The other 2 917s, I think it was 917, a long tail was second to us. I think they actually probably had more water with a long tail. I don't know.
Right.
But, anyway, we had end out the winner. So
you just kept going round and round and round.
Well, yeah, that's all. But you know, we were in the lead after 10 hours, which is ridiculous, but we were. And for me, the difficulty then was to make sure we didn't make a mistake for the next 14 hours.
Yeah.
We're not even halfway.
So you had the pressure of that.
Oh, yes. But the rain was the biggest concern because of the electrics and aquaplane, of course. So, you know, we were just, you know, we did it. And Hans did a wonderful job. And we came through, but it was everybody else had trouble. Joe Sifford missed a gear, the engine buzzed the engine past the pits, which I saw.
Right.
Lots of things happened. I can't remember all the accidents, but all the cars in front of us, I guess, didn't finish.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a race of attrition. I don't think they've ever had so few cars finishing. So it was bad for a lot of people. A lot of people went off on the rain.
Well, endurance races almost always are, though, aren't they? I mean, it depends, I suppose. Yeah. Modern ones nowadays, they run them like sprint races, but
the equipment's totally different. You've got, you know, I don't know, 2 tons of downforce. That forces the tire into the tarmac, whether you like it or not. And aerodynamics come into it hugely. And of course, there'll be on wet tires with massive grooves, which we didn't have in those days. In 1969, we were in the old Dunlops with the treaded Dunlops that all the
Yeah.
Grand Prix drivers were on. We had similar tires, but they were huge, but they were narrow. And on the rear wheels, the width were 12 inches in 69.
Mm.
And then the following year, they went to 19, from 12 to 19. So the tire development in that time was huge.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just gave it loads more grip.
Yeah. Yeah. But with the wet tires, we had narrower wet tires, and they went to probably, I don't know, 15-inch wheels. Don't know. Maybe 18. I don't know. Can't remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
developments in all sorts of areas. So did you stay on for the filming of the Le Mans film? Because I'm trying to correlate to
Yes.
actually when that stage. So you just kind of kicked around after the race, then, did you?
Yeah, about 10 days after the race, it was started. They built a village inside of the circuit, somewhere near the Bugatti circuit, in a wooded area, and that's where we reported to every day. And I was on the film a lot. David was on the film nearly every day because he got support cars there as well, which he was paid per day.
Right.
So he had a Lola. I think he took a Lola T70, the green one, as a backdrop to some of the scenes we did. And he took another couple of cars, I think. Joseph had supplied another 917 that he happened to have on loan to the thing, and I had to drive it one time, and Joe said to me, "Oh, please, Richard," said, "be careful of my car," because they were quite delicate cars, really, and he was looking after his investment, but it wasn't used that often. But the film guys, they got cars from everywhere to represent the grid. And there was a big effort, and the budget was $1 million, I think, with Solar Productions. But actually, it went to 7, I think, because it
Wow.
took so long to complete.
Yeah, Neil was saying to me that there was production issues. So there was a lot of waiting around then, in between takes. And how long were you out
Yeah.
there for?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, we did do shift work to come home for a break every now and again, but I was in charge of the camera car, which was race car 20, and we had the cameras on that car, which did a lot of filming against the 512. And there are scenes in the film which I know that I did with Mike Parks in the 512, and I was in the 917, and we did lots of. We rushed into Arnage Corner once, and then came out. Then we went through White House. We did sections of the track, and it was all put together in the film. So there are bits that there were him and me, and a few others cars involved. And David had his accident in that film, and he was in a 917.
I'd forgotten he'd had the accident in the film.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going through the beginning half of coming out of I think he had the accident. I actually don't know. But he lost control. It was doing we did the White House section, I think. And so Mike Parks was leading. I was second in line, and David was following up as background for the shot. And we did this run 3 or 4 times, and then we did after the same day, I think. And Mike Parks and I came through. We're ready to turn around and then go back. And Mike said to me, "Well, where's David?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "I never saw." And he'd got off, and he went into the Armco, and just behind the Armco was a little stream, and the posts for the Armco were hammered into the ground, but the ground was very soft because the water was there, and the barrier folded down, and David went over the top, I'm sure, and ended up in a field. And he was still strapped to the main chassis. The front of the car disappeared, gone. So he's exposed. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
And it was a typical French hospital failure with his leg, because he was fine after the accident, and he was flown back to England after a week maybe, and he went to a hospital in near Portland Square. Anyway, he went to hospital in England, and he could smell it. He knew that it was infected.
Oh, so it got infected.
Oh yeah.
So they hadn't cleaned the wound.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I just assumed that he just lost it in there and then, and they just had to amputate it, or.
No, I think his leg was probably in one piece. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, maybe his leg was broken. I don't know. I can't remember.
Right. But yeah, they made a mistake then. So
Yeah.
it's a fascinating film. It's funny, I've just been watching it this morning, actually, or watching the first half of it, and like you say, the dialogue for the film, there was no dialogue of any of the main actors for the first, I think, 36 minutes. I think I timed it out. It's fascinating.
I was told it was 43 minutes.
Wow.
But I don't know that. I haven't checked it. But it was a long time. You see Steve McQueen driving the 911, which I think went for £1 million not that long ago.
Right.
And yeah, it's weird, really. And they changed script writers certainly more than once.
Right.
And the director was Sturgis, John Sturgis, to start with, who would have been right for the film. But I suppose Steve didn't get on with it. So I don't know, maybe confusion there. So he left, brought another one in. I think there were 3 came. So it was the film eventually was a shambles, really, but it was meant to be the film of all films. And
well, ultimately, I think if you say 1960s racing, what image comes to mind? You only have to look in the shop window of a Tag shop, and you'll see a picture of Steve McQueen. And it's got to be the most iconic film of that generation. You just think racing in the 60s, it's Steve McQueen.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Yeah. He was an icon. He'd already done, well, he did films after that, but I don't know when he made most of his films. Maybe before the Le Mans, I guess, because he was already very famous. He was famous.
Bullet. Have you ever seen Bullet? That's a great film.
Yeah, Bullet. Oh, the racing scene there is fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Best car
fantastic.
chase before Ronin.
Ever.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Ever. Yes.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Well, brilliantly done, I must say, by both drivers.
Yeah. So what was Steve like as a fella? I heard you saying in an interview once that he was quite a introverted fella.
Well, he had, he finished second at Sebring with Peter Revson, in a 908 Porsche, and so he was well in with Porsche, and he's a good driver.
Yeah, he sounds like a handy peddler then.
I mean, he could have made a career of it, I think, and he was very not envious of us. He really looked to us like we were icons, and we knew he was one.
Yes, that's fascinating.
It was mutual admiration, and we went out to dinner with him at least a couple of times, and he was just an ordinary guy. It's a bit like when people want to talk about Jim Clark, and Jim Clark was even more of an ordinary guy. He was so unassuming. And I was traveling through on the Tasman series one year. I was going through part of New Zealand, I think, and Ian Young was in the car, the journalist, and Jim Clark and myself. I can't remember who else was in the car. And we stopped off at this petrol station in the middle of South Island, they might have been, or North, I don't know which one anyway, but anyway, in the middle of nowhere. And I think maybe Ian Young mentioned that that was, to the petrol guy in the office. He said, that's Jim Clark. And he wouldn't believe it. He didn't believe it. He did not believe that it was Jim Clark.
No
And that's
way.
absolutely gospel. Yeah, yeah.